In today's video, I'm sharing the 10 most crucial newborn sleep tips that I wish I would have known as a first-time mom, that I didn't know, that I learned the hard way as a mom of five, also as a pediatric sleep consultant. These are the exact strategies that helped me go from a sleep-deprived zombie with my first baby to truly enjoying, appreciating, and feeling as well rested as possible as the mom of a newborn with my later babies. If this is your first time on the channel, hello, I'm Annie with Mom's First Steps, where we talk about all things pregnancy, postpartum, and motherhood with the goal of helping new moms enter motherhood with more confidence. I'll never forget, it was about 3 a.m. in my firstborn's nursery. It was dark. She was screaming. I was crying. And I just had a moment of realization that there had to be a better way. And so I read all the baby sleep books. I read pretty much the entire internet. I made it my mission to make sure I was as educated as possible to figuring this out because I needed sleep. I was sleep deprived. It was hurting my mental health. It was not great for my physical health. And I just knew that something had to change. So born out of that was everything that Mom's First Steps is about. So you could say that this is the number one topic that set me down this path, and the one that I'm most passionate about making sure that expectant moms know before they have their baby, because that's the key. So today's video, you're going to get 10 top tips and strategies to help you with newborn sleep that I wish I would have. Okay, so first of all, tip number one, fix day and night confusion as soon as possible. So what is day and night confusion? Day and night confusion is very common with babies, and it's basically when they have their days and their nights mixed up. So you might notice that a newborn is more likely to be awake all night and sleep all day, which is not great for parents. Of course, it is perfectly normal and common for newborns because their circadian rhythms are not yet developed, and they won't be developed until they're about 8 weeks old. That's just biologically how they are. The good news is, we as parents who don't necessarily want to be up all night, and thing is exposing baby to natural sounds of the house. So don't be afraid of them being involved in the family, being around other kids if you have them, or just in the home, exposed to the daily sounds of life. This will help them learn the difference between day and night. And also, this is the time when you want to engage with them, play with them, sing with them, different things like that. The opposite of that would be what to do at night. So at night, you want everything to be calm and quiet and dimly lit and boring. So when baby wakes up in the middle of the night, needing to eat, needing a diaper change, which they will, by the way, no matter how well you implement these tips, you want to just be kind of boring, right? You want to be quiet. You want them to feel kind of in that calm, quiet, dark state the whole time. You don't want to engage with them a whole lot other than, of course, taking care of them. And this will help them learn over time, over a couple of days, the difference between day and night, which will make your life a lot better and theirs as well. Number two, calm your fussy baby with the 5S method. So the 5S's is a term coined by Dr. Harvey Karp, who kind of coined this term. However, these techniques have been used by moms to help with their babies when they're fussy for literally hundreds and thousands of years. So this isn't rocket science. It's not anything new, but we do have a catchy term for it from courtesy of Dr. Karp, and that is called the 5S's. So it is helpful to know these, to memorize these. These become your arsenal of strategies to use when your baby is fussing, because they will. So essentially what these 5S's do is they replicate the strategy of the womb. And so while in the womb, your baby was constantly kind of crunched up, right? You saw those cute ultrasound pictures. They were in a very kind of confined environment. Their arms were probably tucked up close to their chest. So swaddling is something that brings them comfort. So that's the first S. The second S is side, lying, or stomach position. Although it's safest for babies to sleep on their backs, it's actually not the most comforting position for them, as many of you will learn the hard way, as I've learned. So if you have a moment when your baby is very fussy, it's great to put them in a sideline position. That could be like when you're holding them, or on their stomach. My little guy right now at 14 weeks, he's absolutely love to be on his stomach. Just when I'm holding him, or anytime I put him over my lap. And this is a great position for babies that bring them a lot of comfort. Shushing. So when your baby was in the womb, they are exposed to the constant sound of blood moving through blood vessels, your heartbeat, just kind of that ambient noise that always happens inside of your body. And giving them that outside of the womb is also very comforting. So using a sound machine, or simply using your own voice to say, shh, shh, can be very comforting for a baby and replicate that womb-like environment. Number 4 here is swing. So swinging or swaying is very comforting for baby as well. That's why you'll notice a lot of times when you're holding your baby and kind of rocking them, that brings them a lot of comfort. It might calm them down when they're fussy. And then of course, sucking. So whether your baby is nursing, you'll notice that often can calm a baby down, make them very calm and even sleepy in those first early newborn days, especially. Pacifier can also work great if and when you choose to introduce that to your baby as well. So it's important to know these 5 S's. They can help calm your baby down in preparation for sleep. And then they can also be layered with some of the other techniques that we're going to talk about here in the rest of this video to help your baby kind of get better sleep for longer and just be more calm and more happy, which is what we want. Number 3, it's really helpful to have a broad understanding of newborn sleep cycles and stages because they are different from adults. And one thing that frustrated me as a first-time mom is I didn't understand why my baby kept waking up after like 30 to 45 minutes. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I thought babies are supposed to nap for longer. Well, turns out that is totally biologically normal based on where they're at with their development and their sleep. So newborn sleep cycles are very short. And because of that, they wake frequently. Another thing that's really important to know about newborn sleep stages that drove me crazy when I was a first-time mom is like I would watch my baby sleep and she would be very active during her sleep. She'd be like twitching and moving and even like making little sounds and grunts. And I was pretty quick sometimes to like pick her up and try to intervene and help her get back to sleep or whatnot, only for her to actually wake up and get really, really fussy. So what I didn't know at the time that I know now, and I think every new mom, it's helpful for you to know, is that one of the 2 stages of newborn sleep is called active sleep. And although your baby might be fidgeting, grunting, moving around, they're actually sleeping. Another common thing is like their eyelids are twitching. Like my baby's eyes would be like almost opening and yet they were asleep. So it's really helpful to know that so that you don't intervene too quickly. And over time, you'll start to understand the difference between kind of a real cry out versus these smaller little grunts. But just be aware that if your baby is making noise or moving during sleep, they might in fact be asleep. And that's just biologically how it is. So frequent wakings are normal. You're not doing anything wrong if your baby wakes after 30 minutes or so. They're just waking after a single sleep cycle, and that is common. And just don't be too quick to intervene if they're simply like twitching or small grunts as they're sleeping. That's part of their normal sleep cycle and sleep stages at this age. Now, newborns will have more adult-like sleep cycles by the time they get about 4 months old. That's called the 4-month sleep regression, as many people call it. That's actually due to this biological change in their sleep. So 4-month sleep regression, that's a whole different topic for a different video. So let me know if you want to learn more about that. Definitely a good thing to be aware of, but don't have to worry about that for a few months. Let's keep on with the newborn sleep here. All right, number 4, setting up the perfect sleep environment. So I've been asked by a lot of people, what do I need to have in my nursery to make sure that my baby will sleep well? And a couple things that you can keep in mind to help make sure that the conditions are optimized for your baby to have a very good restful sleep. So optimal room temperature is between 68 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit. So you don't want it too cold, you don't want it too hot. So this was actually a debate that I won with my husband. So he loves the house as cold as possible. I swear he would keep it at like 55 degrees if he could. So we had always kept our house at 65 before kids. And after the babies were born, I was like, nope, we got to bump that up. So 68 to 72 is optimal. You also don't want it too much warmer than that because the baby just, again, it can impact their sleep and their comfort level while they're sleeping, which we don't want. Next up here, using a sound machine. So again, going back to the 5 S's that we talked about, this is very soothing for babies. And it's also great because it can become a powerful sleep cue that it is time to go to sleep. Even now with my 14-week-old, every single time that he sleeps, we use a white noise machine and he loves it. And it really, really helps him, kind of drowns out the household noise and also brings that comforting womb-like environment that brings him comfort and makes him feel safe and cozy. Shades and blackout curtains. I can go both ways on this. Honestly, I haven't used shades or blackout curtains with all of my kids, but if you're really struggling with sleep, and it might be something that's nice to have around, especially if you're trying to nap your baby during the day, in a otherwise bright room. Though I will say I do often nap my baby during the day in a bright room. So kind of depends. I think this one can go either way, but some families really love it and they like to have their blackout curtains to make sure that it's very dark for babies. You need a bassinet or crib for safe sleep. So what I do, even still right now, I've got my 14-week-old in a bassinet that is in my bedroom. That's where he's sleeping. He also has his own crib in the nursery in a different room in the house. It's on different levels of our house though, so I want to keep him close to me while I sleep for now as he's so young. But I am napping him at least once a day in his crib in his nursery where he will eventually sleep, just to get him used to the environment, used to the smell and the sound and the feel of the room. And that's a strategy that I've used with all my kids after my first that really helps that transition from kind of napping on me, which don't worry, we still do a lot of contact naps. I still love that, but like napping on me or being held in someone's arms and then transitioning to kind of a colder, harder sleep surface that can be a challenge for some babies. So the best thing to do is mix in some bassinet and crib naps with all of those wonderful contact naps that we love as moms, that your baby loves as well. And like I said, aim for at least one nap a day in the crib. And then using a swaddle is a huge help. Again, this is part of the 5S's. It brings them comfort. It also reduces the more reflex just a little bit, which is a reflex. You'll notice baby will like kind of lift up their hands and startle. That's super common reflex for babies. But if they do that while they're sleeping, it wakes them up. They can wake themselves up. And so if you're trying to get those longer stretches of sleep for your newborn, which you're watching this video, you're probably trying to do that. I certainly do for all of mine. A swaddle really helps with that, making sure your baby feels all comfortable and snug. And I'm going to pause for just a second. I want to make sure that everyone's aware. I've got a free newborn sleep guide that is available at the link in the description here of this video. And what that has in it is it has these tips with some more detail. It also has sample newborn sleep schedules that are age appropriate from age newborn up until 4 months of age. So super helpful if you're a family that wants to kind of have a routine and have some organization with this chaotic time in life of bringing a new baby into the family. Super helpful to have an understanding of what those schedules could and can be for your family and for your baby. So make sure to go ahead and grab it. It's a completely free guide. Again, I really am passionate that parents should have access to this type of information so that they can have happier, healthier newborn phases. All right, moving on to tip number 5 here. Know the early signs that your baby is tired, also called sleepy cues or cues of that your baby's tired. So the sleepy cues that we're going to talk about are yawning, fussing, showing irritability, rubbing eyes or ears, not making eye contact, and losing interest in people or toys. And those last two kind of happen a little bit later, just developmentally. Like newborns aren't making a ton of eye contact necessarily in the first few days and weeks, but that will increase as they get a little bit older. These are really important early signs that your baby is tired. We're going to talk about it later in one of my other tips and make it even more explicit. But if you can learn to identify these cues early on, you will be so much happier. Your baby will be so much happier. And really what you do once you see this type of thing. So if you see that your baby is yawned, it's time to start getting them ready to go down for their next sleep. Okay, same thing with any of these other signs here. All of these signs happen before your baby will have a really overtired meltdown and start screaming and crying. So for me, I always try to avoid that in my babies. I know most moms do as well. So it's really helpful to try and nip it in the bud. When you see these signs of tiredness, you know that it's time to start getting baby ready to put down for a nap and avoid those overtired moments. Because tip number 6 here, overtired babies fight sleep. And this is something that I completely did not understand as a first time mom. I actually thought it was the opposite. I thought that, okay, if I keep my baby up longer, then she's going to go down easier because she's so tired that she'll just be exhausted and go to sleep. And it's actually the exact opposite. So if your baby is up too long, they get stressed out. They have a surge in stress hormones. There's been some studies done. So it's actually better to avoid them becoming overtired. And you avoid them becoming overtired by keeping an eye on sleepy cues and then also understanding wake windows, which is a concept I'm going to introduce a little bit later in this video. So don't fall for the common misconception that, might be true even of yourself as an adult, right? If I don't sleep well the night before, I'm even more tired, so I'll have a great sleep the next night. It is not true for newborns. Tired and tired newborns get more fussy and they fight sleep, and they're more likely to wake, all of these things. So definitely try to keep your eyes on them for those tired cues. Put them down at the first signs of tiredness and don't keep them up for too long. Number 7, establish a feed, place, sleep pattern. So I personally start this routine very early, and I think there's a couple of different benefits in it. So first of all, I like that it gives me kind of a plan. And again, we're talking about newborns here. So like the plan is you have to be flexible. That's the underlying plan of all of this. But it helps me kind of structure their days just a little bit more, because I know that after we feed, we're going to be awake for just a short time. And then after that, we're going to look for tired cues and then go to sleep as soon as we see a tired cue, and then repeat. So what this does is a couple things. First of all, it separates the feeding from the sleeping. Is it okay to feed your baby to sleep sometimes? Absolutely. I, though, am a proponent that you shouldn't do it every single time. And it's an amazing power that we have as moms to be able to be that calm, loving, supportive, safe place for our babies, that they feel so safe and wonderful and cared for while we're feeding them, that they fall asleep. That is an amazing superpower, especially as a nursing mom. But for anyone, right? It's an amazing superpower. However, if you always feed to sleep and you only feed to sleep, your baby over time, not as a newborn, but as they get older, will learn that the only way that I can fall asleep is if I eat right before it. And this can create some sleep associations that are a little bit more challenging as baby gets older. Again, I'm not saying don't ever feed to sleep. You can do it sometimes and it's okay. I do it occasionally as well, but I just recommend separate feeding from sleeping with something in the middle, even just a diaper change or swaddling them or playing just a little bit. And you'll appreciate that as baby gets older, because you'll avoid some of these challenging situations that then require, either living with a baby who wakes up and has to eat a bunch of times overnight, or doing some kind of more organized or formal sleep training that many families don't want to do, that I personally don't want to do either for my kids. So I avoid it by doing a routine early. And the other thing it does is it just gives you an opportunity for baby to feed when they are well rested. So if you feed baby when they're already overtired, they're less likely to have a good feeding versus if they wake up from sleep and immediately feed. And as we know, one of our baby's number one jobs when they're in that newborn phase is to gain weight and to grow, right? We want to maximize that. And so both with my own kids and also with other families, if a baby feeds right after they wake up, they're more likely to have a good full feeding, which allows them to gain weight and put on, those great developmental advancements that we want them to be doing right now. So feed, play, sleep is a great pattern to establish with your baby. Number 8, establishing a simple bedtime routine. So you can maybe tell by this that I'm someone that likes routine, and I really have to with all 5 of my kids, but not only for my benefit as a mom. I feel like, again, having a routine gives me a plan and a process that I can follow, but also it's amazing how much babies thrive on having a routine. And it's great to start this even in the newborn phase when they can't quite sense the pattern, but very quickly they'll start to learn the pattern. So keep it short and simple with 4 to 5 steps. You can build over time as your baby gets older. So right now, it can be as simple as like bath time, diaper, pajamas, then you feed and burp them, then you turn the sound machine on, swaddle on, lights off, and lay them down to sleep. It can be that simple. Now, over time, as they get older, you'll want to layer in things like read books, brush their teeth, all other things for older babies and then toddlers and so on. But building that foundational, simple routine as a newborn is awesome. It's something I do with every single one of my kids. It's good for me. It's certainly good for the baby, and helps you really feel more empowered and organized. And that's hard to come by sometimes as a new mom. Tip number 9, and this probably is the most important one: wake windows are everything. So first of all, what is a wake window? A wake window is the time between when a baby wakes up from their sleep and when they go down for their next one. So let's say a baby napped from 1 p.m. to 1:30, and then they went back down for a nap at 3 p.m. The wake window would be an hour and a half, because they woke up at 1:30 and they went to sleep at 3. So that's what I'm talking about when we say the term wake window. Newborns need a lot of sleep. We know that. We've already talked about that all throughout the video. the max wake window for a baby is 45 to 60 minutes long, which is very short. So in those earliest days of having a newborn home, you may be astounded by how little time they spend awake. Because keep in mind, they're awake while they're feeding, and that counts towards their wake window. So even though they're not interacting with you or looking at you or cooing, they're simply there, half falling asleep, probably just eating. That counts as their awake time. So by the time they wake up, you start feeding them, and if you're breastfeeding, you switch sides or finish their bottle and change their diaper. You're probably, because babies aren't efficient eaters very, very much in those early days, you're probably coming right up on that wake window, at the end of the wake window, and it's just time for them to go to sleep again. So keep an eye on this, but this is such a superpower because if I use this example again, so use this example of a newborn that slept from 1 to 1:30, so had a 30-minute nap, again typical of newborns, and it's 1:30, so I'm going to feed my newborn, and it takes about 30 to 45 minutes for the feeding. I'm going to change their diaper, and I'm going to have about 2 minutes where I'm kind of singing to them and playing and talking. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited. They open their eyes. How wonderful. And then, so it's been about 45 minutes since they last woke up, and all of a sudden I see a yawn. It's now time to put that baby down for sleep. They're not fussing yet, but I know that I'm at the end of that wake window. And I also know that I saw a sleepy cue, which means that baby is tired. And it's an early sign that they're tired and ready for a nap. So now I know that if I put them down for a nap, they are most likely to get optimal sleep. And it will be hopefully a good nap for them. So by putting them down when they're ready for sleep towards the end of that wake window, you have a higher chance of avoiding overtiredness, and you have a higher chance of a better quality sleep and more sleep for that next nap. Hopefully that all makes sense. And then as a baby gets older, their wake windows increase. So wake window for a 4-month-old is much longer than a wake window for a newborn. And of course, so on as they get to be toddlers. But the concept remains really important to helping your baby and child sleep as they grow up. All right, and our last and final tip here, and this is an important one. So for better or worse, so if you're in the thick of the newborn phase right now, or if you are expecting your baby and you're kind of dreading it, for better or worse, the newborn phase goes really quickly. And before you know it, it'll be over, and it's crazy. And I really have that perspective now as a mom of 5, and I'm right at the end here at 14 weeks, at the end of what will be my last newborn phase with my last baby. And it went so fast. And this one, I felt like I was able to enjoy and cherish this one. I can't really say the same about my first. My first, I really struggled, and every single one after that's gotten better, in part because of this information that I know, and more information as well. But it ends, right? Like at some point, you're going to look back at the newborn phase and you're going to say, wow, like that went by so quickly. It's barely a blip on my radar. In fact, I wish I remembered more of it. So it's normal to struggle to adjust to it, especially for a first-time mom. Again, I'm sharing all of this with you, but I knew none of this as a first-time mom, and I struggled so much. And so that's okay. If you're in that boat, or you're worried about being in that boat, you're already doing so much for yourself by educating yourself on things like this that can help you and help your baby to have a much more smooth newborn phase. The next thing I'd say is just enjoy those snuggles, contact nap. You'll hear a lot of, people out there on the internet in the sleep training kind of world say, oh, don't contact nap with your baby, and don't over snuggle them, you'll spoil it, whatever. Like, I don't believe any of that. I am professionally trained. I've had 5 amazing sleepers, not because lightning struck 5 times, because of these specific things. And I contact napped with all of them, and I enjoyed every second of those contact naps. So take it all in, take care of yourself, ask for help when you need it, and all of those things that people are going to tell you a lot, but you actually need to do. So try to listen to that. And then last thing I'd say here is when, regardless of whether you love the newborn phase or you're totally struggling with it, it will be over before you know it, and you'll be on to the next adventure as your baby gets older. Every single day is a new adventure, which is probably why I've loved it, and I've had 5 of them, which is so fun. So 2 things here I want to mention as we wrap up. Like I said earlier, there is a free newborn sleep guide. I would love every single person that watches this video to pick that up. Link is in the description. And then additionally, I have a much more comprehensive and in-depth Better Baby Sleep ebook that I've published that goes a lot deeper into all of these things as well. That is also available at the link in my bio as well. And lastly, I just invite you to visit us at www.momsfirststeps.com. We have a lot of helpful content on there for expectant and new moms. And wishing you and your baby all the sweet dreams. If you like this video and you're still here, please like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing a whole lot more content like this in hopes of helping new moms transition into motherhood. That's all for today. See you in the next video.